Nothing. So the largest news medias did not even have a paragraph. How frustrated do you think that makes us feel? That we literally took over. I cannot even begin to explain to you, half the city was shut down. I was with my wife, we were shocked. We were walking 3 hours after the rally, and literally the police cars have blocked everything even 3 hours afterwards. It was the entire area around the White House because of our rally. We marched from where they allowed us the permit. We marched from there all the way to the White House. 4 streets of people marching. So this is no doubt, it makes you feel a sense of frustration, strong sense of frustration. But this is where we are tested. As I have said multiple times, this is a long-term battle. It's not going to be a day or two. And one of the things that I find very positive, and this goes back as well to the statement of Arabic, رُبَّ ضَارَّةٍ نَافِعَةٍ, sometimes out of a negative, a positive comes. After 9/11, for those of you that are old enough to remember or were here to remember, after 9/11, no doubt 9/11 was a tragedy. It affected our country. It affected us directly. But one of the positives, one of the biggest positives that happened, it forced us as an American Muslim community to become mature. It was like a punch in the gut. Sometimes when a tragedy happens, may Allah protect all of us, if a young person faces a tragedy, it makes him older, right? Maybe a teenager has to face a tragedy, a trauma, all of a sudden he's no longer a teenager, he becomes a young man. For us, that 9/11 moment, it was like that. I know it was for me 100%, and I know it was for the da'wah in America. Those of us that are active in da'wah pre-9/11, 9/11 changed all of us. And we started realizing that we were in a very much intellectual bubble. We're not thinking critically, politically. We're not engaging. The government cracked down on us. We had no plan. We had no connections with other organizations. We had no, networking with our own government. And therefore, the damage done to our community was unprecedented. Mosques shut down, masajid, scholars deported, many institutes, people went to jail. All of us, including myself, SSSS, remember the SSSS, right? I got that all the time. Guess what? We matured. We realized, hey, we can't just take this lying down. We need to fight back. We mobilized. We, for the first time, realized, hey, we have a stake in this country. This is our country. They can't do this to us. And all of a sudden, the discourse became mature. What are we going to do? Take them to court. And guess what? By and large, we won. By and large, those SSS were removed, right? The NSA wiretaps, I'm sure they still have it. I'm sure this is being tapped as well. But publicly, at least, a lot of changes took place. Let's be honest here. The rule of law was manifested here in a way that would never be manifested in many of our countries back home. Let's be honest here. And this leads me to another problematic issue. We have to, as a community, mature up and distinguish between a politician and an alim. The Muslim politicians in Congress now, all of them have problematic views about whatever, LGBT, whatever it might be. Yet all of them, without exception, by and large, are standing up against Israel. Some of them, there's one Palestinian American in Congress. One, the only one. And as we know, the Israeli lobby is targeting her $15 million. You know this. Now, if we were to invite her to Epic, what's going to happen? I'm being brutally, this is my community, let me be blunt here. The Israelis want her out. We as a Muslim community are not even mature enough to understand, and this is not a blanket endorsement. Before the youngsters immediately released the YouTube videos, Yasir Qadhi, A'udhu Billah, the foolishness in this regard. It's not black and white. There is a person in Congress, she can stand up and say, my grandmother is getting bombed in Gaza. Who else can say that? And she's bringing this plight in a humanitarian manner, effectively. What should we do? Allow AIPAC to kick her out? Wallahi, I ask you bluntly, this is not an endorsement of everything about her. Please, this is our problem. It's not black and white. So we have to mature up as a community. We have to understand she might have a role to play. She's not an angel. She has issues. Everybody has issues. Overall, what is her function? And all of the Muslims in Congress, what is their function? To establish the Sharia in America to shut down the alcohol stores? Is that what they're going to do? Or are they defending the rights of Muslims in this country and abroad? We as a community need to start thinking not in 2D, in 3D. We need to start thinking holistically. And these issues like Gaza, they are, for many of our youngsters, a wake-up call, because they realize how foolish is it. Still, some of our clerics are discussing, oh, this guy has beliefs. He believes in this fiqh position. He believes in that aqidah position. This guy's an enemy. People are seeing through this. We don't have the luxury to be divided amongst ourselves. These petty issues, we need to move past them. We have one small community in America, less than 1%. If we divide amongst ourselves based upon where I put my hands, or even, of course, I give a simplistic example, wallahi, even bigger issues, the classical controversies over qadr, over sifat, over whatnot. These issues, let's discuss them in a private room. Let's not bring public division. Let's not break the community up. So we're seeing this when Gaza is being bombed. I don't have the luxury to divide amongst ourselves based upon issues of 1,000 years ago. So, and in some levels, this is a positive. Our maturation politically, our understanding of our communities, what are our pros and cons, what are our overall agendas, how are we protecting our rights? And this leads me to one final example, not quite relevant to us, but I want to bring it up. Again, controversial, but so be it, because again, this is where we are heading here. Yesterday or today, I forgot. I think yesterday, England announced, UK announced that they're going to ban a party. Now, usually I don't mention groups' names. Today I will. This is Hizb ut-Tahrir. Usually I do not. Now listen to me carefully. UK just announced they're going to ban the movement. If I were in England, I would publicly stand up and defend them. This is what I'm trying to get at. Because we don't want the government getting involved and banning movements that we don't like. This is not a violent movement. There's no killing, there's no bombing, it's just ideas that are a little bit, fringe. There's ideas that are uncomfortable, ideas that are left-wing, right-wing. They're not harming anybody. They're not physically punching people. But because they have criticized Israel a bit too, boldly, whatever, in this regard, and they have supported the organization Hamas in ways that others have not. They have been a bit too explicit in this regard. It's freedom of speech. They should not be banned. So my point is, I want to give you an example in my own life. I will publicly support their right to exist, even as I publicly criticize their views. Does that make sense here? In my humble opinion, this is maturity. We have to learn. I would never want the government to start policing, oh, this is a radical group. Because the minute you allow them to be shut up and locked up, who do you think is going to be next? Who do you think is going to come after that? We have to be smart enough to differentiate between internal preaching. And even before this, I never mentioned them by name, because I don't want to cause animosity. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. But now, today, when the government has declared them, this is there. In our country, it will be much more difficult, but it is not impossible. In our country, it will be much more difficult. And by the way, FYI, 14 years ago, I took a class with Tony Blair at Yale. I documented that, spoke about that. And Tony Blair brought this up, that I wanted to ban Hizb ut-Tahrir. And I said in class that if you had done so, you would have gone against your own principles. And I said to him, and I'm saying to you right now, I disagree with Hizb ut-Tahrir. But if you're going to ban them because you think they're offensive, then be consistent and ban so many other groups, including the far right, which is Islamophobic. You should ban them as well. You're not going to ban them. Why are you selectively choosing what you think is problematic and others are not problematic? We cannot open this door. So my point here is that, the miscellaneous thoughts. The political engagement as Muslim minorities is not a simple binary black and white. And my goal, especially for my community, is that we reach a level of maturity that we understand. As the Arabic saying goes, لِكُلِّ مَقَامٍ مَقَال. Every platform has a different thing to say. Who you invite to give the khutbah, who you invite to be a religious preacher is not the same as the person who's going to benefit in the Palestine-Gaza crisis. Not the same as what is happening in Congress. Not the same as the PR and media. Each one has a role to play. And as a community, اِعْطِ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقَّهُ, give everybody the right and their due. And if we do so, I actually believe, inshaAllah ta'ala, we will go leaps and bounds. The future is brighter. 400,000 people is no joke. 400,000 people coming together. And even if MSNBC won't report it, Twitter reported it, Facebook had it everywhere. The social media that we used, it was everywhere. Slowly but surely, the narrative will change. And if we are at the head of the curve and we're managing, inshaAllah ta'ala, to think 10 steps ahead, inshaAllah ta'ala, we will influence. In the end of the day, this is what our religion wants us to do. I can't tell you, it's not my job to tell you specifically what political tactic to use. I'm not a politician. But as a person, inshallah, who has studied a little bit of ilm, I say to you, you cannot be disconnected from the country you live in, from the world you inhabit. You must be involved. This is your country. And if you're not going to get involved, subhanallah, the other group, without mentioning their names, is smaller than us. Yet the country is following them. Our cousins, the other group, ethnic cousins. The other group is literally smaller than us. Yet their influence is much more. Why? I'll tell you why. It's not because of quantity. It's because they have gotten involved in the process. It's not a conspiracy. It's not Illuminati. It's not they control the world. No, they're involved financially. They're involved in the thick of things. And we, as of yet, are on the outside. We're protesting, that's good. Step one. But step two, we need to be involved in the process. In the media, again, so much can be said. They just fired 2 of the senior most Muslim analysts on MSNBC, and they literally just got rid of them. Isn't that tragic? What are we doing about it? Nothing. They literally got rid of 2 of the most prominent Muslim voices on mainstream media. And you know what? We all know why they said so. It's because they were trying to be unbiased. It wasn't even that they were biased. They were trying to present both sides. This is how powerless we are. That our Muslims who are just trying to be unbiased, they get kicked out. Khair, we're not going to give up. At least we got to that level. So we're going to try again and again and again. We must try. There is no alternative.